Have you ever wondered why there's so much tension between baby boomers, millennials, and Gen Z? This episode of the Paradox Experience podcast answers that question. We expose the hidden paradoxes that fuel the generational divide, from financial issues and national debt to conflicting views on work and success. We discuss the millennial struggle with expensive times, the boomer legacy, and how Gen Z is navigating technology and burnout. This isn't about blaming a single generation, it's about understanding why they think and act so differently. If you're interested in sociology, generational differences, economics, and workplace dynamics, this episode is for you. Welcome back to the Paradox Experience podcast. I'm your host, and today we're embarking on a deep dive into a topic that defines our culture, our workplaces, and our dinner tables: the generational divide. This topic is going to be provocative, insightful, and hopefully valuable to you. I've done a pretty good research trying to understand the viewpoints of each of these generations, watched tons of material online, and I've come to an interesting realization. We're not just going to talk about baby boomers, millennials, and Gen Z as simple labels. We're going to get to the heart of what defines them, the deep-seated paradoxes that shape their very existence. After all, you've watching Paradox Experience podcasts, right? Each generation is a living, breathing contradiction of profound success and significant struggle of progress and frustration. We're going to explore what these paradoxes are, where the fiction comes from, and most importantly, what we can learn from each other to bridge the gap. If I could humbly ask for anything right now, it would be to ask all of you, dear viewers, to subscribe to the channel, like and comment. Without you, what I'm doing won't make much difference. My promise is to make every episode bigger and better. It's to make sure you get the best possible reviews, interesting information, paradoxes, obviously, and knowledge you couldn't possibly get it anywhere else. So please, click that subscribe button and leave a like. It only takes 2 seconds, but it means a lot to me because it lets me know that I'm doing something valuable for you. Thank you, and back to the podcast. So let's begin with the baby boomers. The central paradox of this generation is their legacy. They were born into a world rebuilt after World War II, a time of unprecedented optimism and opportunity. My notes are full of references to this era, as I'm also a big history enthusiast. A time when people were building new infrastructure, buying affordable homes, and raising families with a sense of security and a clear path to the middle class. Boomers inherited a truly golden age of prosperity and, by all accounts, built upon it. They had a clear path to success: go to school, get a stable job, work hard for a single company, and retire comfortably with a pension. This was the social contract. The paradox? The very same generation that enjoyed this stability and opportunity is now often seen by younger generations as having made it incredibly hard for them. Boomers, a generation of which the youngest will be 65 in 2031, hold the majority of political and economic power, and the argument is that they've left behind a legacy of massive debt and social security shortfalls. As I watched one of the videos online by PBD Podcasts, it suggests a long-term structural issue that will take 20 years or more to resolve, which is probably true. It's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow when you consider that a generation that inherited greatness is now being accused of leaving a crumbling foundation for its successors. I'll mention PBD podcast again. Consider the words of a host, Patrick Bet David, who a couple of years ago said that some boomers, and I'm paraphrasing, are bullying younger generations because in 20 or 30 years' time, they will be dead, so they don't care. This is a painful and provocative statement, but is it true? Probably for some. I'm not sure. The real paradox here is that selfishness isn't a generational trait, it's a human one. There are selfish people in every age group. However, when an entire generation holds so much concentrated power, when most politicians are boomers, for example, the actions of a few can impact the many. Wouldn't you agree? The question isn't whether every boomer is selfish, but rather what is the collective responsibility of a generation that inherited greatness but is now leaving a massive debt for its successors? This also ties into the concept of what we owe our kids. Should parents, many of whom are boomers, feel an obligation to help their adult children with major life events like buying a house or paying for a wedding? Or is that the responsibility of the younger generation? It's a debate that highlights the vastly different economic realities each generation faces. Let me know in the comments what you think about baby boomers. I'm sure your thoughts might be valuable to others and they may agree or counterattack with different opinions. But that's what we're doing here. We're having a debate and a conversation. Next, we come to the millennials, and I'm fortunate or unfortunate to be part of that generation. Their paradox is a story of expectation versus reality. They were raised on the promise of the American dream. Now, that's in the US, but it would be quite similar to the European countries, although it took them a little bit more time to reach that economic and infrastructure greatness. So, similar to US, they were told to get a good education, follow their passions, and work hard. They did all of all of that. I heard someone describing them as being thrown into a lake on a boat with no paddles. They graduated right into the Great Recession, and since then, they have been navigating the most expensive economic period in history. The traditional rules, the ones the boomers followed, simply don't apply anymore. Millennials are burdened by crippling student loan debt, and many are locked out of the housing market. They feel like they were set up to fail, expected to play by rules that no longer work. Consider the entrepreneurs. The paradox of the millennial entrepreneur is that while they prioritize work life balance and social purpose, they also had to become incredibly resourceful and adaptable just to survive. They built their businesses from the ground up using technology, e commerce, social media marketing, and data analysis. Because the traditional brick and mortar path was no longer viable, they're driven by values, but their very existence as entrepreneurs is a testament to the fact that they've had to navigate a difficult, unstable world. They learned how to build a personal brand, which is very powerful these days. For example, Trump has more followings and views than a whole American parliament, or Elon Musk than NASA. But they also had to create multiple streams of income because the promise of a single stable career was gone. Let me know what you think in the comments. This also ties into their worldview, as many millennials came of age after the 2008 financial crisis. They often began to prioritize experiences like travel and personal growth over accumulating material possessions. They saw what happened when the system failed. and it shifted their priorities. This is a profound shift from the boomer ideal of accumulating wealth and possessions to create a legacy. Jordan Peterson said this in one of his famous interviews that in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offended. And look, obviously, my goal is to not get anyone offended, but if someone will be, I'm not going to apologize. I'm touching base here on what, according to my research, the differences and struggles are between these three generations. So stay with me. We are about to go deeper into a Gen Z dimension. Let's go. Finally, we arrive at Gen Z. This generation's paradox is perhaps the most profound of all. They are a hyper-aware, socially conscious, and technologically fluent group. They are the first true digital natives. They say they won't sacrifice their values for a company that just expects them to work hard. They challenge the live to work mentality and push for a healthier work-life balance. They believe companies owe them more than a paycheck, including regular recognition and appreciation. Gen Z is telling the world, work less. Then the paradox? They are burning out at an alarming rate. According to a Cigna survey, a staggering 98% of Gen Z, that's in the US, experiences burnout. 23% experience unimaginable stress, and 48% feel drained in their youth. Here is a page from Cigna 360 Global Study Report from 2022, which indicates in what percentage young people are feeling stressed or afraid of rising living costs. The survey included almost 12,000 adults. They are a generation that is both digitally connected and deeply stressed. They are afraid to take bigger risks, and this caution is holding them back. Perhaps, well, I'm not sure if that's the case, but let me know. Again, I'm just talking here based on the research I've done, but I might be wrong. They've seen the struggles of millennials, right? The economic instability and the seemingly endless pursuit of a goal that feels out of reach. So they are understandably cautious about making the same mistakes. The paradox of Gen Z is that they are both hyper informed and hyper stressed. They know what they want and what's fair, yet they are struggling to achieve it in a world that wasn't built for them. They say work less, yet they are already working so hard just to keep their heads above water. Initially, it feels like previous generations have left them a mountain of expectations they don't really want to climb. And what about the big questions they face? What's more important, money, passion, or stability? For many, Gen Z's answer is a blend of all three. But the reality is that they are often forced to choose. They want to do what they love, but they also need money and stability, which are harder to come by than ever before. So if we can agree that pointing fingers is pointless, and I hope we can, what do? We have to look at the paradoxes of each generation and find the lessons hidden within them. So we have to go deeper. The real path forward isn't about blaming, it's about learning and absorbing. So as I mentioned, I'm not going to point fingers at any of the generations, what they should have done or shouldn't. But I came to conclusion that it would be an interesting experiment to see what each of these generations could learn from one another. Again, let me know what you think. So, what millennials could teach boomers? Let's start with that one. Probably technology and adaptability. Millennials can show boomers how to leverage new technology for productivity and connection. While boomers are very capable of using technology, millennials are often the digital natives who can show them how to move beyond basic functions. They can teach them that a business doesn't need to be physical, brick and mortar store, but rather a global platform accessible to anyone with an internet connection. This isn't just about using an app, it's about shifting one's entire mindset to a digital first approach to work, business, and social life. So, another one they could teach them probably is work life balance and purpose. Millennials were the first to truly challenge the live to work mentality. They can teach boomers about the importance of mental health, setting boundaries, and understanding that a fulfilling life includes time for family, hobbies, and personal well being. This doesn't mean they don't value hard work, but they believe that true success isn't just measured by a career ladder, but by a holistic sense of happiness and purpose. So, what millennials could teach Gen Z? Probably patience and perseverance. Millennials grew up in an era of rapid technology change, but still experienced a more traditional, linear career path. They can teach Gen Z the value of patience and the importance of perseverance through the long term projects and career goals. While Gen Z is adept uh, at quick on demand learning, millennials can share the wisdom of seeing things through even when progress is slow, emphasizing that true mastery takes time. What else? The power of collaboration. Millennials are often seen as the bridge between old and new ways of working. They understand the importance of in person collaboration and building strong interpersonal relationships skills that are sometimes overshadowed by Gen Z's preference for digital first communication. Millennials can demonstrate how teamwork, negotiation, and face to face communication are essential for building a cohesive and productive work environment. They can also share lessons on navigating different work styles and finding common ground, blending the best of both traditional and modern approaches. So, what Gen Z could teach millennials and boomers? Well, value driven work and mental health, that's for sure. So, Gen Z can teach both millennials and boomers about the importance of aligning work with personal values. They can show that a paycheck is not the only motivator and that they would not sacrifice their values for working hard in a company that just expects them to work. They can also highlight the importance of open conversations about mental health and burnout, which is a significant issue for their generation. They're normalizing the idea that it's okay to feel overwhelmed and to prioritize well being. Another one would be radical digital fluency and social consciousness. As the first true digital natives, Gen Z can teach older generations about the latest technological shifts from emerging social platforms to new forms of communication. Beyond just technology, they can also teach about the importance of diversity and inclusion. Having grown up in a more diverse and globally connected world, Gen Z is often more attuned to social justice issues and the value of creating more inclusive environments in both the workplace and society. Although we need to remember that justice needs to be made the same for all, not just for them and their worldviews, right? What boomers could teach millennials and Gen Z? Well, probably a lot. I was always the one listening to elders and their conversations with a lot of motivation when I was younger, even when those conversations weren't too sophisticated. So again, similar to millennials, patience and perseverance. The world boomers grew up in was one that rewarded a long term mindset They can teach millennials and Gen Z the value of patience, of staying with a company for a significant period to build skills and climb the ladder slowly. That, of course, if they are motivated to climb that ladder, or perhaps willing to take more risks in life and start a business. In a world of instant gratification, they can offer a valuable lesson in perseverance. That sometimes the best rewards come from consistent, long-term effort and dedication, not from quick pivots or side hustles. What else? In-person communication and hard work. Boomers can also teach younger generations the importance of in-person communication. Before video calls and instant messaging, face-to-face conversations were the primary way to build relationships and get things done. This is a skill that is often lost in a digital world. Furthermore, the boomers' work ethic, while sometimes seen as rigid, is a powerful lesson in commitment and effort. While Gen Z values work-life balance, the boomers emphasizes on working hard enough to get where they want to be is a core principle that can't be ignored. So the ultimate paradox is that while we are more connected than ever, we are more divided. But these divisions are not unbreakable. They are opportunities to conversation, to empathy, and for learning. We need to stop asking who is to blame and start asking, what do we owe each other? What do we owe our kids and communities? The national debt is a long-term fix, and so is this generational divide. But it starts with understanding, not just judging. It starts with appreciating the struggles and the strengths of each generation. Thank you all for watching this episode of Paradox Experience Podcast. I'm absolutely honored that you decided to watch this episode this far. I can only hope that I was able to give you some valuable insights and knowledge. I'll see you again in another Paradox Experience podcast. Stay open-minded and have a great day or night. See you.